boys and girls. This is Sush from the Mennonite Heritage Village. I'm here to read you two stories today. The first one is called The Tomato Tornado. I am Molly. I live in a yellow house on the edge of town under the big prairie sky. I was hot and sweaty as I played with my dolls in the front yard. Mom was working nearby, working in the garden. The air was still. Mom said that it was muggy out. It's a funny word, muggy. Later that afternoon, I looked up to see that the sky that the sun had disappeared. Mom kept an eye on the sky. She looked worried as she stood and watched the southern sky become darker and angrier looking. I came and I stood beside her, and I also watched the billowing black clouds. I felt very small as we stood there. I took Mama's hand, and I felt a little bit braver. Mom said that the storm looked like a tornado. Tornado? I glanced over to the garden where our tomatoes were growing in rows. Did Mom mean a storm with tomatoes? Red tomatoes, big and juicy, falling from the sky, splatting on our driveway and rolling in the grass. Bouncing off of our roof, wet tomato skins hanging on our wash line, plastered to my arms, draping over our trees, millions of slimy tomato seeds squishing between my toes and floating in the dog's dish. Sticking to our windows? Yuck! Oh, tornadoes must be disgusting. Mom's voice brought me back to the dark, angry sky. She said that the storm was going around. I breathed a sigh of relief. Hand in hand, we watched as the storm rumbled away. A few days later, Dad brought home the weekly newspaper. We gazed at the pictures of the tornado. I looked hard, but I didn't see any tomatoes bouncing off the roofs. I didn't see any tomato skins draped on the wash lines. And I looked very hard, but I couldn't see any tomato seeds stuck to people's windows. But I did see huge trees broken from the wind, and I saw houses that were missing their shingles. And I also saw broken glass lying on the ground. My parents talked about that big storm, the tornado, as we ate our supper. I turned my tomato slices over with my fork, and I thought, how much better I liked garden tomatoes than those sky tomatoes. Really, no tomatoes, just a tornado. And I said I'd read two stories, and so the second story I'm going to read to you is called Goodbye Old Housebarn. It's by Marlene again. And she dedicates this book to her dad, whose name was Almond. And he had a bunch of toys from when he was a little boy. And then sometimes in the winter, he would let his kids, play with them. And so she has one of these machines in the pictures that she made for this story, Goodbye Old Housebarn. It was her dad's machine. I am Molly. I live in a yellow house on the edge of town under the big prairie sky. That's too bad, sighed Mom. Dad agreed and he looked up from his work. He was putting new linoleum on our floor. As I admired the pretty leaf design, I wondered what Mom meant. What's too bad? I asked. Mom told me to be still and listen very carefully. I stopped skipping about on that new floor, and I could hear the distant roaring of a machine. Dad said, "They're tearing down the old house barn at the corner, Molly." "What's a house barn? Do you mean that old building at the corner?" I asked. "A long time ago, pioneers would build their house and their barn together so that they wouldn't have to go outside to feed their animals in the cold winter," Dad explained, and then he showed me some pictures in a book. "Let's go see," said Mom. Mom and Dad took my hands and off we went. Outside, the noise was louder and I could see a big cloud of dust down at the corner. As we got closer, the roaring got noisier and the dust got thicker. Then I saw the cause of all that noise and dust. A huge machine was biting at the roof of the old house barn. Next, it took a chunk out of the front wall. Glass shattered and old gray boards splintered. Oh my. We sat on the grass and watched as the monster slowly crunched and munched at the house barn. Mom and Dad looked sad as we walked back home. I turned my head to see the big pile of rubble where that old place used to be. Mom and Dad talked about the old house barn. Our town school principal used to live there, don't you know?" said Mom. "That was the very last house barn left here," said Dad. And I felt their sadness. It is hard to say goodbye to old things. But I guess if we never let those old things go, new things never can come. Just like our floor, I smiled as I hopped about on its big leaf pattern. And that's the end of that story. I hope you enjoyed both stories today. They're in our bookshop, and there will be activity pages on our Facebook page too, and then you can do the activities about this. It's so good to spend time with you again, and we will see you soon. Toodaloo.